Hey everyone, welcome to this next tutorial. Today we're going to try and create something a little bit more special. We're going to go for a TIE fighter, and let's see what we're going to go for. Here we are. Cool. So basically, just to show you what we've actually done here, I've gone out with my iPhone and just filmed the sky and panned it down and filmed a bit of road and a pub and a guy with a washing machine, various other things like that, and stuck a TIE fighter in the middle as you would really. And it's using a plugin actually called Elements 3D, which is by VideoCopilot. Highly recommended plugin. It's fantastically fun to use, and they have a free pack, a Star Wars pack, that you could just download straight from their website, and you can play with TIE fighters, X-Wings, BB-8s, R2-D2s, the lightsabers, you name it, and they're really high quality. Anyway, so let's get to creating this effect within After Effects and that plugin. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we take our original footage, which is the footage that I shot outside, which is basically just this. It's pretty high res, shot on an iPhone. So anyway, we'll drag that into its own comp, and then we'll go to our camera, 3D camera tracker, just drag that on, and that will start analyzing. It's going to take a couple of minutes for me. It may seem instant to you. There we are, instant, amazing. So now we've got our camera track. You can see all these various points that have attached themselves to bits that it's seen, buildings, corners, bit of this sign here, loads in the tree, and if we just scrub through, some appear, some then disappear, just to see how it's picked up each little tracking point. It's pretty good. I'm not going to get too much better with just a quick standard track using After Effects, but it's all we need really. Yeah, scroll down. I haven't got any in the road, it seems, or anything close up. That's alright, no worries. Anyway, so what I need to do next is create a camera that basically mimics exactly what I did in this street, and then creates it in a digital version. So what we're going to do is we just lasso a couple of these points up here. That's fine. Right click, and then we're going to create a null and a camera. That's pretty much it. We now have our 3D camera in space, in this space here, which makes it appear that this null here is animating, but it isn't. It's just the camera that's moving to make it look like that is. So once we've got this, which it seems we're pretty good, let's just run this through so it's a normal speed. Yeah, no, that's fine. Alright, let's get in our TIE fighter. Fine, so the next thing we need to do is create a new solid. We'll call this TIE fighter, and we'll leave the settings as they are. That's fine, that's cool. And in here, in our effects, we will type element, and we'll drag that onto our layer. When the effects appear up in the left, here they are, all we need to do is go to scene setup, and that will take us to our element interface, which is a very sort of basic looking 3D interface. So on the right hand side, you've got here our model browser, and all we need to do is go to our star pack, which I downloaded earlier, and click our space fighter. It's not a space fighter, it's a TIE fighter. Anyway, never mind. So there we are, done. Press OK, and kabloom. We have, let's just run it through. We have a TIE fighter in the scene. Let's turn that sound off there. TIE fighter sitting in our scene, doing absolutely nothing and looking terrible. No problem. We'll go back into our scene setup, and first thing we'll do is we'll just go to our windows and we'll turn up the reflectivity of the windows. There we are, just turn them up, and I think for each of these elements here, like our body, we'll just turn the colour just off-white. I think just a tiny bit off-white here and there. Off-white, the wings, too dark, there we are, and the windows as well, off-white. Okay, that's a bit better. And what we also need to do is we need to create an environment reflection map on here. And I don't have an HDR file that marries up to this scene exactly. I don't have a chrome ball with a high-res camera and all that sort of business. But there is a way we can get around this, I hope. And that is by creating a environment using the footage we already have. And we can do that. So if we create and we drag our original footage back into a new comp, as if we were going to track it, we're going to rename this composition. We'll call it environment. Okay. Environment, that'll do. Environment, there we are. Okay, that's our environment map. And basically that's the same footage as animating down, and we can use that in this original footage here. So if we drag that in to the bottom, turn it off, and then in our TIE Fighter element effects, we can go to custom layers, custom text and masks. Sorry, wrong one. Custom texture maps. Layer 1 is probably fine. You can select any one of these. In fact, you can have all these as custom texture maps, which would be layers in here. And we'll select environment. Back to our scene setup. Now, if we go to environment, we can select custom layer environment. And what that's going to do is use that video as an environment reflection in HDR. Pretend HDR is not real HDR. And already that starts to look a little bit better. So just to show you what it's doing, if you'll be able to see this, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see as the footage starts, there's more sky and it's appearing to be more bright on our starfighter. But as we go to the end of the footage, it is a little bit darker. So you may be able to see the change in our environment map. So we're actually animating the environment map to marry up with our scene, which is pretty sweet. Anyway, so hopefully that will help with our lighting, which we'll come to a little bit later. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to animate it. So if we go to our group 1, which is where the actual TIE Fighter mesh is saved, and we open up particle look, and down here we'll see particle rotation. And what we want to do is we go to our Y rotation. We can rotate it to the Y and Z. Give it a little bit of this. We don't want any random. Don't want random. Don't want random. We want some random later. So if we just, let's say, let's zero all these out. 0, 0, 0, and we go to our Y position. So if we go, okay, so if we go to our particle replicator, and here we'll see particle position. And what we want to do is animate our particle position from the start, right up in Y, so right up in the sky, because we want it to appear as if it's pretending to land. Something like that. Keep that. Go right to, let's see, where the camera starts to come down. Maybe there. And we'll put that back down. Where are we? Come on. There we are. Okay. Press U on that layer and that will show you our keyframes. So just to run that through quarter speed, so we get a little bit of speed. That's pretty nice. So it feels like it's independent of our camera, but that's fine. It isn't independent of the scene. And I don't seem too shocked to see a TIE Fighter pulling up in the middle of town. Okay, easy ease on there, just to make it feel a bit easier. Never mind. Audio recorder. What is this message? Go away. Okay, that's fine. So the next thing we need to do is add a little bit of rotation on it. So if we go to our X rotation, put it up a little bit. Our Y rotation, bend it. Oh, sorry, that was our Z. Our Y rotation, and just pull it over there slightly, and that way it feels like it's like we had it in the original. So anyway, that's cool. Something else we can do is we can add some random events to these rotations, a little bit of wiggles. So what we need to do is if we hold down Alt and we go to our X rotation and we click the stopwatch, we'll pop up this expression editor just down here. And all we need to type in there is wiggle 1, 2, 1,2, that will do, that'll probably be enough. And then if we take that amount and we copy it, Control C, and we go to the Y rotation, Alt stopwatch, Control V, paste that in there, and we go to our Z rotation, Alt stopwatch, and we paste that in there too. So now if we run this through very slowly, let's start from there, you can see it's got a little bit of random pilot juggling with too much drink or some wind. We'll say wind. I don't know what the rules are for drunk space piloting. So we'll just say he's battling with something, but he's pretty steady. He's not too bad at all. There he goes. All right. Okay, let's turn resolution back up to full and sort out some of this this look we've got here. So let's start from about there. And already it's not too bad, but we can make that a heck of a lot better. So if we go to our render settings and then we go to our ambient occlusion, enable that. There we go, enable that. That will create some dark areas where our geometry is sitting close together and the light can't penetrate through. So we have to up the intensity pretty high on there. That's good. And it comes down. So that's not looking too bad at all. Let's increase the radius and then up the intensity a bit more. Okay. That's not too bad. Now, next thing we probably want to do is, you know what, you can actually, if you go to a physical environment, you can play with the exposure. I feel like we need to up the exposure slightly on that. And you can also rotate the environment. If you don't feel it's sitting quite right in the scene, you can just have a little play with this, and you can see the window just changing its reflection slightly as we rotate the environment, which isn't going to show itself in the scene, so by all means just fiddle around and see what works. I quite like that. And then if we go to some color correction as well, I'll just close this all up and effect color correction curves, and maybe just up the contrast a little bit, darken that down slightly. Yeah, it feels like it's sitting in there quite well. Yeah. Yeah, pretty good. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a little shadow, which is all it is a new layer, new solid, a nice black solid. Press OK, put it under the TIE Fighter, make it 3D, bring it down and rotate it in, apologies, in X. That'll do. Bring it down, something like that. And maybe rotate it in Z. Shrink it down, just so it's sitting in there. Maybe rotate it back up a little bit. I am eyeballing this, as you can probably see. Doesn't matter. It still sits in our scene as a pretend shadow. Yeah. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to mask it out ever so slightly, just to give it a rough shape of our space fighter. There we are, just a bit of a bulge around there, bit where the wings are, bit of a bulge there, bit where the wings are. There. Brilliant. That's exactly what we want. Brilliant. Spot the perfection. So next thing we do is to sort that out is just go to our blur and pull up Gaussian blur or Gaussian blur, however you like to say it. I usually say Gaussian, but feel like I'm doing it wrong, so I'm going to say both. And crank up that blurriness big time. Really crank it up so it's a smudge on the road. Okay, that's not really in the right place, but that's a bit better. Pull it forward, Shrink it down. Move it that way a bit. That's a bit better. I think we need more blur. Loads of it. Don't be frightened of it. There you go. That looks a bit better. And you just sort of run that through. You can see that that sits pretty solid on that road, and that looks like a shadow of a TIE fighter. I'm not saying space fighter anymore, it's a TIE fighter. We all know this, it's a TIE fighter. Cool, so we're almost there. The next thing we're going to do is some heat haze. You don't have to do this because, to be honest, nobody knows if these things even give off any heat anyway. But I'm going to because I want to. It is using another plugin from VideoCopilot called Heat Distortion, but it's super simple to use and it gives off an amazing effect. So we're going to create a new, where are we going? A new adjustment layer. And we'll just call this heat. Why not? And then we're going to go to heat in our effects and heat distortion. Okay. Now I'm going to turn off the TIE fighter layer because it's slow. And you can see here it looks like someone's water gunned our camera lens, which is great. Yeah, that's pretty realistic. Not what we want at all, but we just need to change some of these parameters up here. If we leave the noise pattern to fire, that's probably fine. And the distortion amount, I will leave it at 10, I guess, for now. Turn the heat up a bit. Heat bias is probably fine. Noise scale, come down, I reckon. Maybe to about, let's say 42. And the noise speed, I think we could probably leave that. It's the wind speed we're interested in. If we up that to say 25, and the wind direction, we need that to go down, 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 because that's the direction of the engines. I assume. I've decided. So that should give us an engine feel going downwards. I have no idea at the moment, but we're going to see if it is. Let's turn our TIE fighter back on, and we're going to create a mask just around this area here, just to give it an effect of heat blasting out the bottom of this thing. So we start up top, set our mask tool, pull this in, and just roughly, there we are, just roughly mask out that. That should split that away. So this area here is got heat distortion and this area does not. And we're going to go into our mask path and key that, and then maybe go every second just to roughly move it around to marry up where we need it to go. This should be starting to come down. 3 seconds. And then we move it down. Just double click your mask to take the whole thing. Double click it down there just to make sure it's still doing the right thing. Double click over there. Double click. There we go. That'll do. I'm going to end it there because, oopsie. Right. Let's make sure our mask is moving into the right spot. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. I think we're almost there. I do have some sounds somewhere, but I'm not going to bother with this at the moment. We don't really need it. Let's just do, I'm going to do a round preview of this and get back to you immediately. And how immediate was that? Well, let's have a look. That's pretty nuts. That does look like an engine. Ripping the edge of this off a little bit as well. It's only half resolution, so you'll get some imperfections going on. And pew pew. You can see here, so look how sort of you got this brown tint on the actual TIE fighter here, and as the camera moves up, it's much paler to represent the actual sky, and that's because we've got the video itself as the environment map, which is fantastic. Cool. Maybe some color correction just over the top, just to smarten it all up. Layer, new adjustment layer. Just call that color with an O. And then we go to our kind of correction curves. And maybe, I'd just like to have contrast. A bit lower that down. Pull in a little bit of blue. And a little bit of green. A little bit of red. I'll contrast it up anyway. Not any point in doing that, but why not? Makes it feel a little bit more, bit dramatic. So there we are. That is a TIE fighter attempting to land in the middle of the Cambridge Circus in London. See here. This is where I'm going now. This is a pub, and it does good beer. I've been Matt Smart. See you next time.